Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another action-packed episode of A Work in Progress. I am your host, Brent Piles, and with me, as always, is my trusted co-host, my friend and cohort from across the ocean and from the future. He is the barroom brawling, disco dancing, dynamite stretching, intercontinental playboy. Folks, he's more over than set piece again, ole ole. Set piece again, ole ole. He's actually Harrelson, not Glenn Abbott. Glenn, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, that was good.
It was. It was a dramatic start
Cool.
where we let them
Yeah.
basically get a goal in their first fucking touch of the ball, but that's okay because we
Yeah,
scored the last three.
yeah. Yeah, 12 win 12 games unbeaten now. And I was looking at the stats. If the season had been from January the 1st, 2024 to December the 31st, 2024, Arsenal would have won the league by about 8 points. They scored more goals than anybody else. They conceded less goals than anybody else.
Yeah, I think it was. I think them and
It was
Liverpool
like,
were tied on points, but we beat them. We would have beat them by like eight plus goal differential or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was like I say, like 84 points they would have got.
yeah, something like that. It's too bad it doesn't work like that, huh?
No, it isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, and anytime you play Brentford, I mean, I think if you looked it up, most of their games this year, I would say more than 50% of them, they've scored a goal within the first couple of minutes. So it's not all that surprising that they put one up on us quick because that's just what they do, especially at home. They're
Yeah,
really tough at home.
they are. They are. I think they'd won the last two 4-2
I want to say you're right. Yeah, I want to say that you're right.
before Wednesday, and then we turned up and humbled them, shall we say?
Yeah, a little bit. Uh, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know there's been a lot of talk of maybe them doing something in the January transfer window. Historically, have they done a whole lot in the January transfer window, or is that?
No,
I didn't think so.
no, because there's never that much about in teams that have got quality players. If they got a year's left on their contract in summer, that's when they let them go. They
Right.
don't wait till January because they're going to let them go at a knockdown price.
That makes sense.
So
There's been a lot of
it,
speculation from people, probably because Saka did end up having to have surgery, and they say he's going to be out for at least 2 months, and so I think a lot of people are just panicking a little bit.
yeah,
Luckily, we don't run the team, and they don't make panic decisions like we make panic decisions. Because if it was up to the fans, we would have fired all the manager and everybody 2 weeks ago. So,
oh god, yeah. Despite being 12 unbeaten,
yeah,
it makes it laugh. It makes it laugh. It's like when they were all going on about how disastrous a 1-0 win against Ipswich was. And I put on my threads, Arsenal get a 1-0 win, get 3 points. 3 points that Chelsea didn't get
yep.
against Ipswich.
And they lost 2-0.
Yes.
Just saying. And if you look at Ipswich record, if you look at their fixtures, I think there's only been like 1 or 2 matches that they've lost by more than a goal or 2 goals.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of their games really get away from them. And they're a better side than a lot of teams that are higher up on the table than them, in my opinion. But
Tottenham.
yeah.
Tottenham. Yeah.
I mean, I could probably name 3. I wouldn't say more than 3, but I don't know. I think a lot of people look at records and how many points a team has, and they've never actually watched them play, and they're basically just talking out of their ass. So,
yep, that's right.
Just because the team's at the bottom of the table doesn't necessarily mean like there's no bad teams in the Premier League. It's the fucking Premier League. If they weren't good, they wouldn't be in the league. You know what I'm saying? They'd be in fucking League One or some shit.
I'd argue that fact on Southampton, actually.
Well, yeah, they are pretty bad. They are pretty bad, but yeah, they play. We got at Brighton this weekend, and then we start our 2-match thing with Newcastle
for Tottenham.
Oh no, we play Newcastle in the League Cup before that.
Yeah,
and then they have another match too before they play Tottenham. So I think they don't have a Premier League match for 10 days after.
Oh, because it's the FA Cup as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because then they play United in the FA Cup the next week. Yep.
Yeah.
which I think they just had a run of like 4 or 5 Premier League games in like 3 weeks. So they could use a few. Not that they'll get any time off, but they used a few Premier League game time off.
Yeah.
You know. But it'll be interesting to see what happens as the season progresses through 2025. But I think that's enough football talk for 1 week. Let's talk about the wrestling. What do you say?
Yeah, why not?
As you know, we picked one random pay-per-view and months to review. It was my pick this month, and I picked Starrcade 1995, the World Cup of Wrestling. Glenn, I said this to Glenn earlier. I thought it was ironic that they would have a World Cup of Wrestling featuring only 2 countries. But as Glenn mentioned to me, in my country, we do a World Series where there is only 2 teams from one country, so they're doing better than we are.
Yeah. For WCW, that's more logical to actually have 2 countries involved.
Yeah, that's true. And like I told you, like they'll have the football team, the NFL team will win the championship. We're world champions. No, you're not. You didn't fucking play anybody from. You're not the world champion.
Can I just say, in defense of the WWF, WWE, they did this, or this sort of concept, but they had Canadians, they had British, they had Japanese, they had Europeans.
Did they?
They did a pretty good job of getting different people from different countries involved in it. Yeah.
Well, because I remember like the Cruiserweight Classics and stuff like that. They would get a lot of people from. They would get somebody from a bunch of different countries. But I don't really remember them doing a World Cup of Wrestling.
It wasn't. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of the pay-per-views. They did something similar to this.
You're probably right. I probably just don't remember it. I mean, there's been a lot of wrestling pay-per-views over the years, so who knows? I thought it was a cool concept when I was a kid in 1995.
Yeah.
I would have been 11 years old, and I remember being very excited about watching this pay-per-view. It was during Christmas break too, so that was nice.
You'd never seen the Japanese?
No, not really. No.
This was where this fell down to start with. Was that people that were watching WCW at this time, nobody had actually seen any of these Japanese wrestlers.
Besides, them being on TV before this, because they did stuff on TV building the matches. And I remember because it was kind of like, and you heard it on commentary during this, it was kind of like how Bobby the Brain Heenan was kind of like siding with the Japanese team. You can kind of sense that on commentary. And so I remember them playing that up on TV about you can't trust Bobby Heenan because he's on Sonny Ono's side, or he's been paid off by Sonny Ono or whatever. And I just remember that being a good selling point. And another selling point to me for this pay-per-view was as an 11-year-old child, remember, is the triangle match that they had at the end. Because as an 11-year-old, I never heard of anything like that. And so to me, it was very intriguing to see kind of like what would go on.
And as we found out since, nobody has since either.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I tried to find, but I couldn't. But let's talk about this show. Took place on December 27th, 1995, from the Nashville Memorial Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. The Nashville Memorial Auditorium opened in October of 1962. Held wrestling events from all the companies that you could ever name. Wrestle War 1989, Starrcade 94, and this one. So Starrcade 2 years in a row. In Your House 2, Super Brawl Revenge, and this arena also had Ric Flair's very last match, so far anyway, in July of 2022. Still open today, doesn't have a lot going on, so if you find yourself in the Nashville area, just find something else to do. I've heard Nashville's a nice place. The show is completely built around a 7-match series between WCW stars and stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were led by Sonny Ono, who was, I think, just a friend, an old kickboxing friend of Eric Bischoff, who was brought in to be a liaison with New Japan, I think is what he was brought for. So an interesting concept. Do you remember watching this show back in the day or at all?
No, I don't.
This was your first time?
This was my first time of watching it.
So, before we get into the match, let me ask you, as a whole for this show, what did you think? Good, bad, ugly, indifferent?
The first 2 matches were good. Second 2 matches were bad. And there was some ugly at the end.
Yeah, there was it was hit and miss, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely hit and miss.
This show was, 100%. So the first match is the number one best of series match. Chris Benoit takes on Jushin Thunder Liger, and I would say, I mean, at this point in 1995, these are probably considered two of the best in-ring wrestlers in the entire world. It was
God, yeah.
funny. I was watching this morning, and my wife was in the room with me, and she said, "Is that man dressed like a Power Ranger?"
Yeah, this is pre-Power Rangers.
And then I had to explain to her that he did that before the Power Rangers, and he's like a
Yeah.
wrestling legend. And she's like, "I don't care." She didn't say that, but I could tell she didn't care. What did you think about this match?
This was excellent.
Oh, it was great.
These are two guys that know each other very well. Having a slamming match, and I mean slamming literally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that these two know each other very well from working in Japan. I'm sure they've had many matches together.
Mm-hmm.
And as you expect, great mat wrestling, good submission holds. I mean, it's had everything. And I like the fact that, like, the fans really got behind all the WCW wrestlers, even if they were presented as heels, like Benoit is, because he's a member of the Four Horsemen at this point. But they still managed to get all the fans to still be behind them, which I thought was cool. That's hard to do.
He was throwing up the four, and they were throwing up the four to him.
Yeah, it's probably a little easier for a guy in the Four Horsemen in the South like that to be over that, because they grew up on that kind of stuff, and so they can get behind that a lot easier.
Yeah.
One thing that happened in this match is something we didn't get hardly any of during the best of 7 match, which was some outside interference. Kevin Sullivan comes down here, and he's kind of like, I think he was like, "Why are you trying to steal my wife, Benoit? Don't steal my wife." But no, I don't think that was happening. I don't know what was going on. Apparently, there's something happened between Benoit and Sullivan and the Four Horsemen. So he like distracts Benoit, which leads to Liger hitting like a Hurricane Rana and getting a 3 count. So New Japan takes 1-0 lead in the best of 7 series. But yeah, a really good match.
Yeah. There was only one part where Liger had Benoit in a chin lock, and you think, why are these guys taking rest holds?
Yeah,
they're bouncing all over the place, and then all of a sudden there's a chin lock. But Benoit got out of it very well. He is a good wrestler for all these other things.
Yeah, like we always say, we try to look at what's going on in the ring and not try to look at what happened outside of it. I know, and I know it's hard to look past that for Chris Benoit. For me, it's every time I see him doing that diving headbutt, I go, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
every time.
It seems like when they were doing the dueling for trying to get the tombstone.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely some good stuff between probably two of the best wrestlers ever, and definitely two of the best going in 1995. The next match was, I'm not going to talk about all the stupid little promos they did in between the matches, because we
know what it's like with WCW.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Eddie Guerrero, because his was bad. I mean, Eddie Guerrero would go on to have much better promos in his career, but tonight wasn't one of them. The next match in the best of 7 series is Alex Wright taking on Koji
Kamimoto.
I was not familiar with this guy at all.
Kamimoto.
I didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, but he was decent.
Yeah, he was. This was another good match.
This was another really good match. Showed off Alex Wright really well. So, and apparently, what I've heard of Koji was he was a very good Dick Hill in New Japan.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they were saying on commentary. They were kind of putting the point that he's like, young and arrogant. And I think at that point he was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. I think they brought the belt out to the ring with him. So, yeah, I mean, he was really impressive. I was really impressed with his quickness and his submission skills. And like, Alex Wright isn't like really a guy who gets talked about a lot. And when people do talk about him, they usually talk about that dumbass dance that he used to do. But every time I watched Alex Wright in the ring, it's usually really, really good. Like, he's a really good in-ring wrestler. I can't say that he can ever cut a good promo. I don't remember him doing any good promos. I remember him shaving off his head and turning into Berlin at the end of his WCW run. But he's always been a really good wrestler, and I'm surprised they haven't like got him as like a trainer in NXT or anything, because I just feel like he would be somebody who would be a really good in ring trainer, and I'm sure he probably does train people. But yeah, I was really impressed with Alex Wright. Both these guys. I mean, this was another really good hard hitting match. Yeah, but New Japan gets another win here. With Kojima ends up winning with a jackknife pin, which the win, the pin kind of was a little off to me because it was like a kind of a roll up win when it just, I don't know, it was weird. It was a weird ending for me.
Yeah, but he dropped him with snake eyes first and then rolled him up. So there was a power point to the roll up. It wasn't just an out of the blue.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, like I said, I don't have really any complaints about this. Good hard hitting.
Yeah.
So New Japan up too early on WCW. We then go to, the one thing about a promo I do want to, I thought it was funny that Sonny Ono said that they were going to buy Iowa.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they were like looking for cheap, but like if you're going to buy a state in the United States, why would it be Iowa?
Iowa. I don't know.
I wouldn't pick Nebraska either. I'm just saying it would be Iowa or Nebraska. They'd be bottom of the list. Match 3 in the best of 7 series.
Oh, here we go.
Potato Face Lex Luger taking on Masahiro Chono. Glenn, you loved this one, didn't you?
Oh, it was dreadful. You got Lex Luger at this point was half serviceable. Masa Chono, one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And neither of them looked like they could wrestle.
It was like
bad.
Yeah, it was like watching two stiff robots in there. It just wasn't.
It was.
And you know what? I'm gonna put it all on fucking Luger too. It's all Luger's fault. It can't be Chono's fault. It's gotta be on Luger. I will say that Luger got a massive pop from the crowd, which is probably the biggest pop he's got from the crowd since he body slammed Yokozuna on the aircraft carrier in 1993.
Yeah.
Yeah, this match didn't have the pace of the mat wrestling the first two did, obviously. A bit more physical and a lot shorter than the first two matches.
Just out forearms and big boots, and it was though neither of them actually do a proper wrestling move.
It was just weird matchmaking.
It was.
They could have done better with this. Like they should have had Luger face Tenzan, and they should have had Chono face Randy Savage. I just think that would have been a better match.
Have been, yeah.
Yeah, Lex Luger catches Chono coming off the top rope with like a back elbow, and then he locks him up in the torture rack. And WCW finally gets up on the board. It is now 2-1 in the best of 7.
Yeah, my note at the end of this was it was too much of a style clash, not a styles clash, but a style clash. There were two different. There were two different types of wrestler, and it didn't work. It didn't gel.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And then it didn't get a whole lot better in match 4 with the best of 7 series.
No.
It's the one and only Johnny B. Bad. He's got Masa Saito with him. Masa Saito, of course, if you didn't know, is the guy who got arrested with Ken Patera in the hotel room for beating the bejesus out of all the police in Wisconsin. They got Ken Patera arrested and put in jail for a couple of years. Masa Saito was with him. Sonny Ono gets on the mic and starts running down Kimberly. I'm only saying this because this was the best part of the entire match. And then she gets on the mic and tells Sonny Ono, if wrestling is a man's sport, then what the heck are you doing here? So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
This match was slow.
It was slow. When a Kimberly promo is the best thing you could say about the match. Masa Saito, he looked about 90 by this point. Definitely not the opponent for Johnny B. Bad.
And then the way it ended, because Sonny Ono keeps getting involved. He's up on the apron, and so Johnny B. goes over there and kind of grabs him by his jacket. And then Tenzan not whoever he's facing. Sorry, I forgot. He comes over, grabs him, and throws him over the top rope. And so that's still a disqualification in 95. So Johnny B. Bad wins
by DQ.
And now we're tied at 2-2, which is pretty If they were going to do this and they wanted someone to win by DQ to make it look cheap, they should have had the New Japan guy do it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're supposed to be the heels here, and they should have got the cheap win, not the WCW team, because that just makes us look like moron Americans who can only win by DQ. I don't know. I just didn't think it was a good way to end the match. That was stupid.
No.
I mean, none of these matches should have ended in a DQ, in my personal opinion, because I just
That's
don't
right.
see the point of any of them ending in a DQ, and I just thought that this was a bad way to end it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, now it's at 2-2. We come to the what Dusty calls the pivotal match.
Yes. Match 5. It is Eddie Guerrero taking on Shinjo Otani.
Otani.
I believe that Otani was the first WCW Cruiserweight champion. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but I think he is the first ever WCW Cruiserweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, two guys who would have been known as the best in the world in wrestling in 1995. And this match really had it all. High flying, hard hitting, mat wrestling. This was, for me, best match on the show easily.
Definitely. Yeah. That's why I said the first two that were good matches. Then you had two crap. Then this one, which was like the purest intermission.
Yeah.
Before the second half.
Yeah. It was like, okay, those two matches would have been the pee break matches. But the funny thing was I bet you that the WCW wasn't thinking that, because the Luger match and the Johnny B. Bad match are probably the ones that the fans are going to connect with the most, because they don't really have a connection to Chris Benoit, and they don't really have a connection to Eddie Guerrero either. In their eyes, I'm sure, the fans do like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit because they put on good matches. But I'm sure with the rate of money that they're paying Lex Luger is probably better than what they pay Eddie Guerrero, which is probably why they consider that match to be, more important. But yeah, the other two matches really killed the momentum of the pay-per-view, and this one really brought it back up to where, I mean, if you would have had more matches like this, it would have been one of the best shows we've ever watched. But there was just some stuff in here that really killed the momentum of it. Eddie Guerrero did like a beautiful top rope springboard on the outside to Otani. Otani hit a beautiful drop kick, precision drop kick to the back of the head of Eddie Guerrero. Otani ends up getting the win when both guys reverse a bunch of pin attempts, and now New Japan has the commanding 3-2 lead.
It was a trade of sunset flips, and it was strange that they had the Japanese guy go over on Eddie Guerrero, which is... It is what it is.
I bet you if you check the pay rates of people, those are the guys who won. The guys who got paid higher won, and the guys who got paid lower lost. Because if you look at the winner, and it's funny because the guys you would consider better wrestlers are the
ones that got paid less,
are the ones that lost matches.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, definitely a great match. And if you've never seen that one, I would go out of your way to have a look at it because it's really, really good. The next match is...
Did you notice the spelling mistake?
No, I didn't see.
When Booking the Territory cover the Saturday night shows.
Oh yeah.
They're always going on about, especially on pay-per-views, how WCW always makes spelling mistakes at least one point. And they spelt Tenzan, which is Tenzan,
yeah,
as Tensan.
There's not even an S in it.
No, not even an S in it.
It's a Z.
It's a Z. It's a Tenzan.
Match 6. It's Randy Savage, who is the current WCW World Heavyweight Champion. He's going to be taking on Tenzan. Tenzan is one of the few guys. I watched a lot of New Japan wrestling from like 2015 until like 2019, 2020. And Tenzan was one of the few guys who I saw on this show that was still wrestling in New Japan when I was watching it, and around those times. I mean, obviously he was a veteran then, and he wasn't used a whole lot, but he was on the shows a lot. I mean, this match was fine. I won't say it was bad, but I also won't say it was good.
No, it was all right. They would have probably got a better match out of Tenzan with somebody else. Yeah. He's not exactly young at this point. Neither is Randy Savage. You're not seeing the best of either of them. But 10 years earlier, this would have been a barn burner.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Let this happen in 1988 and forget about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Tenzan was really had the upper hand for most of the match until he missed the moonsault, and then that helped Savage take control. And then he tries to do a suplex, and he tries to suplex him back inside the ring, but he ends up just dropping him across the top rope, and then he hits the elbow for the win. Which is, and again, it was weird because it was like he's not strong enough to pick him up and do the suplex, so he just dropped him to the top rope, but he's going to win the match real quick. It was a weird ending. A lot of these matches had weird endings.
I'm laughing because I don't only rely on my own notes. I have the Scott's Blogger Doom
Yeah.
up as well when they do these, and I've not used any of their notes so far apart from this bit at the end of this match. It was pretty embarrassing, even by Savage's low standards at this point.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're now tied
Hmm.
3-3, and so the final match will decide the World Cup
Yep.
of Wrestling. So the seventh and final match, it's Sting taking on Kinsei Sasaki, who is the current United States champion, and I believe he even beat Sting for the belt
Yeah.
not too long before this in a match in Japan. So Sting is, a bigger bodied guy, but he's a much better worker for me than definitely Lex Luger and even Johnny B. Bad. Well, definitely Johnny B. Bad. I won't say he's a better worker than Randy Savage, but I will say that for my money in 1995, I would have much rather watched a Sting match than a Randy Savage match. But that's just me. Not taking anything away from Randy Savage. I'm just saying I like Sting more, and so I thought this was a pretty solid match.
Yep. Sasaki gets the attacks in early and tries to choke Sting.
Yep.
As everybody that we've been watching over the last few days it seems to do.
That's what you got to do, I guess, when you fight Sting is you got to choke him.
Choke him, yeah. Sting comes back with a drop kick and clotheslines him. It's a good match. Good match.
I think out of all the best of 7 matches, this was either the shortest one or the second shortest one. He even locked Sting in his own move. He put him in the Scorpion Deathlock, but Sting was able to power out of it. He gets the upper hand, and then he wins the match with the Scorpion Deathlock.
He's Scorpion Deathlock, yeah.
And so WCW wins it 3-2. They present them with the World Cup of Wrestling. The rest of Team WCW hits the ring to celebrate. And so now, there you have it. The World Championship Wrestling has possession of the one and only World Cup of Wrestling done ever by WCW.
It was a good night for Sasaki. This.
Yeah.
Because
I saw.
Yeah. Not only did he lose to Sting, but then he had a dark match for his title against One Man Gang. After the show, and lost that as well.
And lost it, yeah. Which I guess they were like, so, he's going back to Japan, and we got to get the belt off him. So just have the one.
So anybody that was watching Nitros at the time, but not the pay-per-views, see Sasaki as the title holder, and the next week is One Man Gang.
Yeah, now you know why.
I'm sure that was a Japanese geezer.
I don't know. Maybe they filmed the match and showed it later. Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, so then we go to the triangle match. It's Lex Luger versus Sting versus Ric Flair. If you don't know what a triangle match is, it's not like your traditional triple threat match. 2 guys are in the ring. 1 guy is outside the ring, waiting in a corner like it's a fucking tag team match.
Sounds like a traditional.
Yeah, and then you have to tag the person in for them to get into the match, which I don't know why in your right mind you would tag that person in, because the first person gains pinfall wins. And so I don't know why you would want to tag yourself out when you don't want to lose the match. So, and the winner of the match will get a WCW Championship match with Randy Savage immediately after this. And boy, Sting really drew the short stick because he literally had to wrestle like 10 minutes before this.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't going to win this, was he?
And Ric Flair didn't have to fucking wrestle at all, so he really won.
Which, no spoilers, he did.
Yeah, which he did win.
What can you say about this? It was Sting and Ric Flair, and Baked Potato Face was in there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was fine. I didn't really have any issues with it.
No,
and when they did make the tag, when someone was able to tag in the way they did, it made sense. Like they didn't do anything stupid. Where, like the one time Ric Flair tagged in Luger, he was like getting like wild-eyed crazy Ric Flair, where he gets some kind of crazy thought in his head. So that one made sense to me too, because that all goes into the character work of Ric Flair. And then the way that the way that Flair was able to tag himself in, or Luger was able to tag himself in, is because I think Sting got shoved into Luger.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
There's only two times that there was tags. And so I didn't think They didn't insult my intelligence in any way with the tag, so that I didn't have any issue with. The only issue I had with the match is that it could have been maybe 10 minutes shorter because it went almost 30 minutes.
Oh, well, it had Ric Flair in it. Of course it did. I just can't understand why this ended in a count out.
I guess it was the best way
It
for.
was-
I guess it would. I guess they're thinking the best way for it to end, where Sting
Yeah,
doesn't have to get pinned.
protect his Sting and bloody baked potato face.
And they're building toward, I don't know, a potential feud between Lex Luger and Sting because, Sting's trying to get back in the ring and Luger grabs his arm and keeps him from getting back into the ring.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things that Luger did. Like he hit a low blow on Sting that was clearly blatant. And
the referee missed
building toward a feud between those two, which I don't get that because, like, I guess for everybody else but Sting, I guess Sting's a fucking moron. Everybody else but Sting, Luger's a bad guy, but Sting, I guess, is too dumb to realize it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And if this referee missed so much in this match, that why did they bother with the ref bump?
Yeah, he could have just been
because they could have just done it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then so here's the ending of it. There's like a whole thing going on. Luger picks up Sting for the torture rack. He knocks down the referee. They get the megaphone. Flair gets the megaphone from Jimmy Hart, who then loses the phone to Sting, who Sting hits him with the softest megaphone shot I've ever seen in my entire life. And for some reason, Ric Flair bleeds like he's been fucking stabbed.
Because Ric Flair bleeds.
Because I mean, literally, he barely even tapped him with that thing. And literally, I've seen stab victims bleed less than Ric Flair bled. He was literally bleeding all over the place. You would have thought somebody shot him the way it blood was coming out of his head. It was ridiculous. And then, so Flair then has both the guys outside the ring. I think he threw Sting over the top rope. They both get counted out. Flair wins.
Which should have been a disqualification.
Yeah, if the ref had seen it, but apparently
technically, that was where they had the ref bump. But the referee had not seen anything during the whole match anyway, so.
And then we'll talk more about because Ric Flair, of course, and he takes on Randy Savage. Then Paul Orndorff come out there and look on from ringside with a neck brace on, even though he didn't do anything. Which I don't know why they even had him out there. It was, if he wasn't going to do anything but stand there, what was the fucking point? Yeah. I didn't understand it. I'm like, I don't get it. It only lasted 9 minutes, and I've seen Ric Flair and Savage have good matches. This wasn't one of them.
No, they would have been better off having put the title on Sting at some point and had his Sting Flair as the final match. Now Randy Savage in this.
Yeah. So things started to break down when Jimmy Hart's distracting the referee. Megaphone again.
Yeah.
Is in the ring. Oh, I'm confusing endings, as a matter of fact. Flair didn't get busted open in the ending of the triple threat, the triangle match. He got busted open in this match because this is when they try to throw in the megaphone. Savage gets him, hits him this with the softest shot ever, which somehow makes Ric Flair bleed everywhere. And then after Savage hits the flying elbow, Pillman hits the ring. Even though he's attacking Savage at the feet of the referee. The referee somehow still doesn't see any of this. No. I don't know how. He fights him off. Then Arn Anderson gets in the ring. He hits Savage with some brass knucks, which the commentary team didn't even catch it until Flair had pinned him already. That Arn Anderson hit him with brass knucks because so much shit was fucking going on.
Yeah,
they were so confused as to why the referee didn't see 40 guys interfering. And then he throws him on Savage. 1, 2, 3. Flair is once again the WCW champion. And crazy ending to a fucking crazy pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know how to thumb this one.
It's hard to say because there was a lot of good, but it's just a lot of chaos and a lot of strange. You know what I mean?
Typical WCW.
I was going to say it was WCW to its core. I mean, at this point, WCW hadn't really got good, really, really good until the NWO came around. They were still kind of feeling themselves out here.
Yeah.
And I poured over the internet, Glenn. I checked Cage Match. I checked, Wrestling Wikipedia. I searched everywhere to try and more instances of a triangle match. And I'm sure that one Rob from UTT Wrestling Podcast can help me with triangle matches in the wrestling of history, but I found nothing. I found absolutely nothing on that. And I don't know. For that reason, I'm going to give it just one single solitary thumb up because it was a decent. Yeah, Glenn's going to agree with me.
One thumb up. One thumb up.
So that was our pay-per-view for December, even though we reviewed it in January. Stay tuned for what the next review will be. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back to reviewing 1998 Raws, but I don't know because they only got fucking 16 of them bitches on Netflix, so I'm not sure what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we're going to do. We'll figure that out next week.
We'll have to rely on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be something. I guess we'll find out next week.
Yeah,
but for this week, Glenn, who do you need to plug before we get out of here?
I'm booking the territory. They're now series 3 of Unstacking the Territory. The Road to Wembley 1981 for Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, and the most watched wrestling match of all time with 18 million viewers. Also, they've just finished up Gator Golf for being the elite title on the line. Is Sammy Guevara holding the title to ransom on his blog podcast or whatever it was he was doing. I'm stacking the. Oh, I said that. I'm booking the Tankatori, the Life and Times of Tank Abbott, and of course
the Doctor Who podcast with Danny Inside us at SJP World Media
and DDT Wrestling with DC and Doc.
We'll give all those fine people and podcasts to listen to and a follow, and of course give a follow to the other member of our podcast team, the Mayor of Canton. He might do a meal with the mayor, he might not, I don't know. Check it out, find out for yourself. But give him a follow anyway. And of course, make sure you give a follow to our buddy, the matriarch of the patriarch Sports Wire Radio, Thomas Bryce. Just search Thomas Bryce on any social media platform and you'll find him. Give them a subscribe on YouTube. Just search Sports Wire Radio with a Z and check out that website, which is sportswireradio.org. And if you hit that listen live button, you'll hear many great shows just like ours, covering everything from Major League Baseball to pro wrestling. Anything that you like, you can find on Sports Wire Radio. So check that out. Check out everything we got going on. We got a road to the AWI Pod Rumble, I guess you could call it, as we watch more 1994 Superstars and Raw. We watched the first episode of Monday Night Raw from 1994 this week with the mayor. Check that out. And a brand new episode of Lifetimes of Psycho Sid. What'd you say?
And again, we don't know how long we've got of that as well now. Whether we were going to be able to access any more Superstars or Raws from 1994.
Well, they haven't. Luckily, they haven't moved the Superstars off the 1995. I'm 94. I haven't moved the Superstars off Peacock yet, so I think we'll be okay on that one.
All right,
but we'll see. But yeah, we'll be definitely fine for the Life and Times of Psycho Sid because we're now in the WCW and the Man of the Millennium. And this week he beats up a jobber named Kid Cash and then challenges Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Title. I know you're thinking, didn't Randy Savage just win the world title on that show? Yeah, and we'll explain to you why he's not the champion anymore in true WCW fashion. Well, really in true Terry Bollea fashion. And that's all for this week. Glenn, just tell him goodbye.
Goodbye.